What's going on, everyone? So, been a little MIA. As I said before, these videos don't pay the bills. Business comes first. Got to focus on that. Hopefully I can get back in a little rhythm here. Second, I did a career fair at Oaklawn Middle School. I said that the next video on YouTube this week, I was going to be doing a raffle. Unfortunately, I need somebody else here to help me because I looked at some of these tickets. Some of the names are very, very hard to read. So I came up to the conclusion that I'm going to have somebody else here helping me. If I pull a name, I can't read it. They can't read it. Unfortunately, it's going to go in the trash. Nothing else I can do. Some stuff, it's very hard to read. Let it be a lesson. Write a little bit cleaner. Going on to this project. So, old school Mustang. Originally, car was in here. Customer thought that he had the trans was slipping. We explained to him that we thought it was actually the tune and the car was more so low on power. Watch until the end. I will add, because I spoke to the customer after the dyno tune, so there's going to be some info there as well. In this case, very unfortunate. When he spoke to his engine builder, it was more so his engine builder seemed like, and to me, from what I was getting, it seemed like he was pretty rude, that the engine builder wasn't concerned about his client's concerns. He was more so, if anybody else touches the tune, nothing's going to be warranted. So things like this is unfortunate. He did have a little packet on the engine build itself, and I was going through it. Bunch of red flags, bunch of stuff that was included with this engine build that was more so to non-car people might seem, cool, like, this is awesome. The people that do this day in and day out, a lot of the stuff that was included was more so like a gimmick. It's unfortunate all around. Hope you liked the video. I'm going to try to get back in a rhythm. Keep them coming for you guys. Thank you. So here's the Mustang. Go over this one really quickly. This was in here the first time. We did a bunch of stuff to it. A bunch of electrical work. He had some gauges that he wanted us to install. And ultimately, I don't know if the gauges are from like Amazon or equivalent. A lot of the adapters that were included, it was going to not only make the job like 10 times worse, at the end of the day, when it would be done, there was better options to go with. So we let him know that, and then ultimately he went with a full digital dash, which it's a beautiful piece. It's a nice addition to this car. When I hop inside, I will show you. Give me 1 second, I'm going to turn on the light. So we got some light in here now. On top of the digital dash and the gauges, there was some other little stuff, some e-brake stuff he wanted us to take care of. The door handle was sticking. And I know there's some other electrical stuff. I'll leave it at that. He has some security stuff on the car that we took care of. So we handled all that. One of the issues when it was in here, or one of the issues on the RO, the repair order, was he thought the trans was slipping. So we took it for a test drive. And ultimately, we felt like the setup wasn't tuned properly. So we alerted the customer, and the customer talked to his engine builder. Now, we had no part of that, so I'm just going off of kind of how I feel. The engine builder told him immediately, if anybody tunes this thing, there's absolutely no warranty on it. He wasn't too happy from the sounds of it. The one thing that really stood out originally, though, was that in an old school distributor. We installed the HyperSpark distributor here. We set it all up. We did all that fun stuff. Originally, had the old school distributor, and it had like a little note on the distributor that said, do not hook up vacuum advance. So we were informing the customer, going off of what Holley was telling us on the little display. Give me 1 second. Let me go inside. Now, I will say, since I'm able to read the screen prior, it's not hooked up right now because it's hooked up through my laptop. There was readings on the screen and settings that just seemed like this thing wasn't tuned at all. I'm able to look in and see, and I told the customer this. The customer did come back, and I swear he said the engine builder said, well, it's still learning itself. And that's going to have nothing to do with the timing, because the timing's not synced into here. It had an old school distributor. Yes, it is a self-learning system, but it still needs to be dialed in properly. It still needs to be tuned. Just because the car is running correctly doesn't mean it needs attention on the back half. And when I say correctly, I mean driving, starting, and it goes down the street. These systems, I said it before, they're marketed in a way that you install them in your garage, you turn the key, and you're good to go. I understand Holley marketing that way, but on the customer end and then us dealing with customers, there's a misconception. So the biggest thing about the self-learning kit, and ultimately what it is, it's the oxygen sensor that is basically in closed loop, which a lot of computers have. You know, you're talking about like a Haltech computer has closed loop functionality. It doesn't mean that you just can start it up and not tune it. While I'm in here too, I don't want to forget to show the awesome odometer dash. I really like it. Came with everything, looks really nice on the setup. So, you know, with that being said and everything, we informed the customer. I was looking at the paperwork he had for the build sheet. I'm going to add this too. There was stuff in this, you got a little folder here from the engine builder that it made no sense. I want, you know, I'm trying to roll my eyes here, but like there's stuff on there that recommends octane booster. I'm not even going to get into that. That's a whole nother portion, but octane booster, no. So a lot of red flags. I looked up the company too that built the engine. Well, as I suspected, the reviews were not the greatest. Let's just say that. So we're here. I'm going to tune it. We're going to see what it's making power-wise. We're going to go from there. Now I will add, with the sniper units, I always like to get a video of a cold start, but vehicle's already warm. At the same time, I have heard people say, you know, we're talking about guys with carburetors, hey, it's fine on cold start, but on warm start it doesn't want to, you know, restart or whatever. But the sniper unit, you don't have to worry anything about that. Starts right up. And as I'm finishing up on the tune, what we're going to be looking for too is on this little unit guy, now that it's actually hooked up, the correction factor. See how it's going down now? And let me shut this off to get a little quieter. That correction factor just shows you how much more the computer needs to either add or take away to hit the desired target air fuels. And where I like to be on every car's a little bit different, and it also depends if you have a cam. VA car's a little bit different at idle. I usually like to be between 0 and 5%. That's where I aim for. So if I ever tune your car and that number, let's say in 4 or 5 months, is completely different, let's say it's at 25% plus or minus, minus would be taking away fuel. You won't see a plus sign usually, that just means adding. That means something happened. You know, got to look into what's changed, what possibly, you know, could be going on. So, and that's what I'm going back on. Originally, when I looked at this car, I didn't look at the tune, but I looked at the screen, and I was able to tell just by looking at it that I didn't think it was ever tuned, really, you know. And that's unfortunately where it is sometimes with the sniper unit. Let me get in. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I want to do a closeout on this video. I didn't really have video I couldn't finish the closing portion when the car was still here. I did speak to the customer and I informed them the power that it made, and ultimately it is nowhere close to where it should be. We're not talking about like 40, 50, we're not even talking about 100 horsepower. And here's the thing, and also going back into the video where I mentioned about the old school distributor not having vacuum advance hooked up. Yes, I understand you don't have to have vacuum advance hooked up, but in a sense of what this car is about and what the customer is using, it should have been. There should have been also more information relayed to the customer from the engine builder himself, which we have nothing to do with. At the end of the day, when I spoke to him on the phone, I informed him of everything that I found when I was tuning the car, and I also explained the whole tuning process. Because at the end of the day, number one, I want to make sure my customers are all informed. I educate them, and sometimes the information, as I said before, is way too much, and some customers don't care. But at the end of the day, as I told this customer too, if he decides to call his engine builder up, I don't want him, the engine builder, talking to the customer and trying to push blame on something else. Something definitely is going on with the setup. I don't know if it's the engine itself. I don't know if something wasn't installed correctly, or maybe, and we see this a lot, and we also hear it a lot, it could be a combination of wrong parts used. You know, we get a lot of guys, well, I want a stage 4 cam, and it's like, well, that's way too big for your setup, and you're going to lose power. We have guys that come in with the setup not properly set up, and you end up actually making either less power or the power band is just horrible. At the end of the day, going back and talking about the whole sniper unit, this customer should have been informed. When he originally came back and said the engine builder said, no, it's still learning itself, give it some time. It's learning closed loop. It's learning the air fuels. It's going to adjust and change that. That's not going to adjust how the car feels, or I should say power-wise. With the disclaimer being said, if it's running super rich, then yeah, that's a different story. If the engine literally is bogging out, it's a different story. Let's use some common sense here. The whole reason why I put a little pause on these videos too, besides being super busy, is some of the videos, specifically the Mythbusters, the comments were getting out of hand. I'm all open for discussion, but of course we know how the internet is. A lot of guys want to act like they know it all. And it was more so I was getting some comments where it wasn't just directed at like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. I got some comments that were not only directed at me as a person, but also started talking a little bit about my family in a sense. I do these videos for fun. I do these videos to educate people. That is the main thing. There's nothing else. So it stinks about this whole situation with this car. Hopefully the customer can either figure out what is going on and we can help him with that and go from there. He was super happy after I explained everything to him. I'm sure he was disappointed. He was expecting a number. His engine builder told him a number. There's only so much. There's only so much somebody can do, and that's the whole thing too. You know, guys every now and then, all motor guys, because boosted cars are a little bit different. You know, let's say your goal is 250 horsepower and it's pushing out 245 horsepower. I can't magically sit there and just make that 5 extra horsepower. I can try to, but at the end of the day, there's only so much a dyno tuner can do. And also, I feel it's my job to explain all that stuff. Explain what I'm doing on my side. Explain what I'm doing when I go inside your computer. And explain all of that and be detailed as possible. Now, I will go without saying too, because we get a ton of phone calls now asking to speak to me. There's a big difference between these videos, me helping people. There's a big difference between my customers and clients and me helping them. And then there's a big difference where guys are just looking for free advice on the phone. This is a business at the end of the day. I'd love to help everybody, but as I said before, I can't. Going forward, I do hope you guys enjoy this video. Oak Lawn Middle School kids, raffle's going to be happening soon. Be patient with me. On top of that, hopefully I can keep getting these videos out to you guys. Thanks, everyone.